The meeting to order. Nicholas, can you assist us with a roll call?
Today, October 25th, 2023, the time is 4:55, and those in attendance are Carla Gurgiolo, Joanne Harris, Josie Martinez is absent, Andrea Sanchez Muniz is absent, Norma Montalvo,
Here.
Fernanda Cardenas, here. Paul Stahl, present. Marcy Ince, present. Beth Graham, here. Judy Cruz, present. Jaspreet Kaur,
Present.
Board Chair Kaur, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll start our meeting with a silent meditation, and I'll ask you all to bring to focus and set your intention for today's meeting. Okay, thank you. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate your patience with the late start time. And I'd like to welcome our new trustee, Carla Gurgiolo. Did I say that right? Okay, she's here representing District 1. Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited for you to join the board. And I would like to remind everyone that this meeting is being live streamed on the city's YouTube site. The library's website has a link for that as well. And also to remind each of the trustees to turn your mic on before you make any comments. Next, I will entertain a motion for the approval of minutes. The minutes from the last meeting were sent to you via email and are also available in your packet. Hopefully you had an opportunity to review them.
Excuse me, I'm not sure if this is appropriate or not, but on page 3, there is a typo where it refers to deferred maintenance projects. It says differed maintenance projects. And so
that is absolutely appropriate. Thank you, Beth.
And I'm not sure that that's supposed to be capitalized either, but I won't fuss about that.
I will leave the capitalization to, Nicholas, would you be able to notate that update? Thank you for that.
I would move that the minutes be approved with that correction.
Have a first from Beth.
I'll second.
And a second from Marcy and Paul. Marcy was a little quicker on the draw there. And Nicholas, will you take us through a roll call vote?
Carla Gurgiolo, Martinez is absent. Andrea Sanchez Muniz is absent. Norma Montalvo, Fernanda Cardenas, Paul Stahl, Marcy Ince, Beth Graham, Judy Cruz, Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next, we have a period for public comments. I did not see anyone signed up.
I believe we had
Do we-
one sign up. Am I understanding correctly? We had one person sign up? Yes? No?
I can't see Sydney. I'm just
I see her,
perfectly short
but
enough.
She's thinking. Or
Oh, that was an error sign up. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Next, we'll move to the next item, which is a report from the library chair. Well, I'm excited. It's my first meeting as the chairwoman, and I thank all of you for your support. On October 2nd, I had the honor of attending a program here at the Central Library that was focused on what I really deem an important part of the future, focused on OpenAI and the use of ChatGPT. Ramiro or Morgan might need to help me with the number of attendees that came to that program, but it was a really good turnout. Josie Martinez and I were able to sit together. I gave the opening remarks for that program because it's something that I'm very passionate about, and something that I will call to attention to everyone here, including my fellow trustees, is that there was a lot of feelings about AI and about ChatGPT, both positive, negative, fearful, hopeful, and it's really interesting to have a topic like that like invokes so many different emotions. I think it's a good indicator to us that it's something we should probably stay close to and understand not only how can the library system benefit from and be aware of the technology, but also we should continue to encourage the staff to keep programming like that within the system as well. And then Ramiro and I also met with Carla, our new trustee, on October 5th for new trustee orientation here at Central Library. I'm going to ask for a report from trustees regarding any library events, and maybe I'll start with Judy.
So I was able to attend the Katrina Ball this past Saturday, which was very lovely. Amy and her team did an amazing job to transform this library, and I also saw library staff working very hard to make sure everybody was taken care of and everything was correct in the right place, and everything was done very well. So congratulations on that big night, because I know it takes a lot of work and it doesn't go unnoticed. So I had a lovely time. It's my husband's favorite event because we get to also it's a confirmed date night, and then I also got another date night from the auction. So it's his favorite event, so great job on that.
I also was able to attend the Katrina Ball, and again, congratulations. It was a lovely event. I hope it was successful for the foundation. I thought that the silent auction this year was much more extensive than I have seen it before, and I hope y'all were able to raise a lot of funds from that because it was really exciting. There was a red sable coat that I really wanted, but it was way out of my reach. Additionally, on September 28th, I attended Councilman White's District 10 meeting for those who've been appointed by him to boards and commissions. Got to meet my counterparts in that district. It was a very well-attended meeting. And it will be going on, they'll repeat it once a quarter. And I want to thank Ramiro and Jessica for the information that you sent me to share at that meeting. I was one of the better prepared people there, I think, so thank you.
Well, I went to Encino Branch Library and checked on the playground and what's happening there, and was very pleased to see so many people in the library. So I thought that was a really good sign. I also attended the Katrina Ball and loved it. I had a great time. I'm always amazed at that party. The amount of work that goes into it is so appreciated. And I mean, this time we had tables that we sat at, and then mariachis came and played for us, and we went upstairs. There was bands up there, and the rooftop was amazing. I mean, it was just, I mean, you guys really go all out with this, and it just makes everybody have a great time. And I know it's a lot of work. I do hope you're making money on it. There were a lot of people there. I don't know if it was a sellout or not. I'm sure you'll probably tell us. I tell people if you want to go, you got to get tickets immediately when it opens up. But I thank you for all your work. Then the other thing is, I just want to say is this Saturday morning I have a breakfast with Councilman Courage and District 9, and we're going to talk about libraries. So I'll let you know what happens.
So I on the October 16th, I participated in the eclipse that the San Antonio Public Library put on, so that was fun. The eclipse watching, I'm trying to be funny and no one's laughing. I thought that the library did a fantastic job of promoting that, and I'm a big eclipse person. They're called we're called umbraphiles. So the total solar eclipse that's going to happen in April is you can't even compare it to what happened then. But the reason I'm bringing it up is I thought it was wonderful, amazing, great anticipation of the needs of the community to provide the glasses, because there's a lot of people that weren't able to watch that eclipse appropriately and safely. And so I was very thankful of knowing how many people may not have had a chance to watch that very unique event, but got a chance to watch it because we provided those special glasses. So I thought that was fabulous, and great job to the staff on that. Also, since all of us at this table were at the Katrina Ball, I was at the Katrina Ball, and it was wonderful, and I'm sorry we didn't take a group picture. We did that. We missed I missed the opportunity for us to do that, but of course it was a great event. I had so much fun. We got a table and we were able to have some friends with us, and it was just a great event overall. So congratulations to the foundation on that, and thanks for your hard work. That's it.
I think Morgan and her team will be happy to know my daughter came home and said, the librarian told me to save the glasses in this envelope that she gave me until April, so at least one kiddo listened to that message. Carla, do you want to share?
I too attended Katrina Ball. It was a great event, very well attended, beautiful. It's nice to see how it's evolved over the years. So congratulations on that. It was a beautiful event. Thank you.
I did not attend the Katrina Ball. However, yes, I'm hearing great things about it. However, I did I extended the invitation to my students to do Dia de los Muertos connection at Memorial Library, San Pedro Library, Landa. This is all in connection with, again, Dia de los Muertos crafts. That was my.
I know, I also did not attend. There was a conflicting schedule of events that threw me for a loop. But I did get to live vicariously through some great local creators, not to mention, my fellow trustees, but I got to see one of my favorite vendors was able to attend, and so the process of her dressing up and going, and she just raved about it online, and she has a very large social media platform, so just know you're also reaching a very younger crowd too, so I thought that was awesome. Did a couple of library visits, including driving by Mission, because after our facilities committee meeting, I wanted to see the progress for myself of what was going on at the World Heritage Center. So we're going to get a nice little update on that. And I'm just excited I got to attend my first executive committee meeting. I felt very important. And I feel like for the first one, you should always say, like, yes, I made it, I'm here. So I look forward to many more, and I look forward to more events. Also, I was telling people online, because it went around that HEB sold out of Eclipse glasses. And so I started posting on the Nextdoor app. That's where people were asking. I was like, go to your local library, go to this library. And then it started a continuous thread of, Mission Library has a ton of them. Go check out Central. So a nice little discourse to get people to go to the library to get Eclipse glasses, but I'm sure they also were able to check out books and other things.
Good afternoon. I did not attend the Katrina Ball. I told Amy years ago that she will never see me there because of because I have a terrible fear or something. It just makes me anxious to see the skeletons and things like that. And so maybe I'll work out of it when I'm 80 years old. But with a serious note, I did attend the funeral of Antoinette Franklin. She was an arts and letter recipient, I think in 2019. And she was on the Friends, with the Friends of the Carver, but also she helped out and came on over to Schaefer Library when they were beginning their Friends group. And actually, she was the second president of the Schaefer Library Friends. And so I did that. I did also go by the libraries and drop off some cookies and things like that. But that's about it. Thank you.
Well, I did not attend the Katrina. This is the side that did, you see how they placed it? This is the side that didn't attend. That's the side that did attend. Fortunately, I had other work engagements that conflicted with, but I know it was beautiful. I saw some pictures on Facebook. So congratulations. It is always an amazing, amazing job that you all do, and we know it takes a lot of effort. So thank you for that. I also do want to echo on in regards to the Eclipse glasses. There is a lot of people that unfortunately could not afford to buy the glasses, especially our grandparents that are raising our grandkids, and a lot of our elderly in the community. They don't have the means to do that. So when I would tell them that they were free at the library, they were very excited because that family was able to see it without being deprived because, you know, whoever the parent is does not have the means because they have other commitments to be able to see that. So I was very happy, and I hope we can continue that in April, if possible, Ramiro, to give out glasses again, especially to those communities that really need it. And the last thing is that in wrapping up Hispanic Heritage Month, here in Central, the Somos Cultura y Más nonprofit organization wrapped up their event, which the library was so gracious to host us, in regards to capturing our traditions, capturing our culture, and putting it in a book. So the public was allowed to come in, our students to say, why do we have a tamalada? Why do we have posadas? Because a lot of that has been lost during generations. And how do you make tamales? I say I just go buy them at the store. You know, you lose all of that. So I'm happy that the library was able to host us and to be able to capture those traditions and make a book about it so future generations can be able to know why those traditions are held. So thank you.
Much for that, Fernanda. And thanks for that reminder about the importance of the glasses too, for our patrons that don't have access otherwise. Next, we'll move to a report from the library director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In your packet, there is a written director's report. I do have some additional items I would like to share with the board. First of all, sad news, we lost a member of the SAPL family, an employee who worked at the Johnston Branch Library, Vida Salas, passed away October 1, 2023. And she was an employee that was super passionate and committed not only to serving the public, but also being a team member of the Johnston Branch Library. So we were saddened to lose her. But I share this with you, one is to acknowledge the passing of an employee, but also to introduce to you a program that the city manager introduced recently. And when there's a death of a city employee, the city of San Antonio now provides a $10,000 check to the family. I had the privilege of providing that check to the parents of Vida and met with both obviously her mother and her father. They were extremely grateful to the city of San Antonio and the city manager for providing this kind of support to the family. So I wanted to share that with you. I think it's something that is extremely important and needed during the time of need. So again, I wanted to share that with you. But Vida left lots of memories for her immediate team and for the rest of the library system, and I wanted to share her passing with you. I want to remind the library board that our first fiscal year 2024 staff in service will occur on Friday, November 23rd. That's when the library system will close for 4 hours in the morning to allow library employees, managers will engage their teams in different activities, professional development, team building, bonding. It's an opportunity to facilitate communication. And so, again, I wanted to remind the board that the first in-service for fiscal year 2024 is coming up. You will see some information, public information, that the communications team will distribute, and actually, they have already started distributing to alert the public. One of the important things that we want to do is to give members of the public a heads up that the library system will close half a day on that day, so they can make plans accordingly. A project that is well, all projects are important, but one that is significant is the transformation of the Carver Branch Library. The 2022 bond program provides $12.5 million to expand that branch library and to transform it into the library of the future. We have been in communication with Councilmember Magui Rodriguez to get his vision and aspiration for that particular branch. The next step is to go out to the community, and we have scheduled a community engagement meeting, working in partnership with Public Works. Public Works, as you know, actually facilitates the construction project. So we're partnering with Public Works and the architects, the selected architects, to go out to the community and solicit and obtain feedback for the community to share their expectations and aspirations for this project. We will suggest to the community what this project can be to transform the Carver Branch Library, but we know that the Carver Branch Library belongs to the community, and the feedback and input from the community is extremely important as we go forward. So the date for that community engagement meeting is Wednesday, November 8th at 6 p.m., and we will be meeting at the Second Baptist Church Community Center. Thank you, Ms. Harris, also for your feedback regarding logistics and what would be an appropriate venue to have this meeting. So again, we're looking forward to this significant project for District 2 and for the immediate Carver community. Congratulations, Amy, for the Katrina Ball. I'm sorry I was not there, but I've heard nothing but good news and good reports about the event. And lastly, about a week ago, the city recognized Public Service Week, and the city manager picked a branch library to visit with staff as part of the Public Service Week. He picked the Landa Branch Library. He spent a whole day there. I want to recognize the manager, Kiana, of the Landa Branch Library. She was super engaging, as well as the rest of her team. The city manager had a lot of questions, was very excited to see the Landa Library, the many improvements that have been made, as well as some of the improvements that are upcoming to the air conditioning system. He relived some of his childhood memories of using the Landa Library, as well as as an adult, to go and find some space where he could focus on initiatives that he was planning. Again, he spent the whole hour. He was super excited, and there were a lot of kiddos, a lot of parents. If you have not visited the Landa Library, and I'm picking on the Landa Library just because the city manager visited the Landa Library, but all of our branch libraries offer all kinds of activities, but it's really fulfilling to see parents engage with their kids. So I wanted to share that with you. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to respond to any questions.
Thank you, Ramiro. Any questions for Ramiro? There's got to be at least one question. Just know it. Well, I'll ask you a question, Ramiro. I saw in the director's report that there was a CPS Energy Day at Carver Branch Library. I'm not familiar with the program, Energy Fair, and I was just curious if that's something that the library did in partnership with CPS, or did they just, how did that come about?
I'm going to have to defer to Dale for that question.
And also, if someone needs to defer, because it's a very specific question, and come back to us, that's okay, too.
I'm seeing Morgan, and I'm seeing Dale, and I'm seeing Cheryl. They're discussing. Good response,
That's a
Cheryl.
great answer, great answer.
We can find out for sure, but I'm pretty sure this is a program where DL Grant, the manager, and the staff invited them to come rather than something that we planned centrally.
Thank you for that. I just call everyone's attention, read up the Carver, because it just sounds like it's branching into a different area, and it kind of caught my eye, so I'll leave it at that. We can move on to the budget report.
I actually wanted to make a quick
I'm
comment,
sorry.
if I could.
Yes.
I just wanted to congratulate the whole library system on the circulation goal that we had for FY23. We fell just shy of the goal, which is a technicality because it's less than 1 percentage point. But when you look at the circulation overall from previous years, I mean, we're much higher than any year before, so I thought it was, at least higher than the last 2 years. So I thought it was still a notable accomplishment, and didn't want anyone to feel that since we had missed the goal by less than 1%, that was some sort of a loss. I think that's fantastic, and I just want to make sure that I made my thoughts known on that, because I thought it was fabulous.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And I did not mean to rush through that. Thank you.
And I have a follow-up on that. Right under that number, I noticed that we beat our goal for visits to the library by almost 20%. And I was wondering if is this just a bounce back after COVID, or do we know what might be driving those numbers?
Randall, our expert in performance measures and metrics and so on, will be able to respond.
Yeah, so good evening. We do have a year-end presentation coming up, I believe in January, or December, our next meeting. But just real quickly, so the target that was set for visits was we were forecasting to be 50% of actuals in 2019. So the fact that we've exceeded that means something, right? It's our recovery. We know that we are users coming back to the library and using us, and same for circulation. Although the materials being used did shift a little bit more digital, it's great that we are able to exceed the total number for what it was in 2019. So still pandemic recovery on the right track, and for 2024, we have those targets set, and we'll be talking more at our next meeting.
Thank you, Randall. I hope, Ramiro, that we still have a pre-COVID benchmark when we get that thorough analysis in the next board meeting, because I think although 2019 is like outside the range of what you normally report on here, it would be great to just be able to compare with that.
Absolutely. Suggestion noted.
Appropriate for us to move to the budget report? It's Gabriella. Kathleen.
I am not Gabby Rauschuber, and I did not attend the Katrina Ball. But I am here on Gabby's behalf. She couldn't be with us tonight, so I'll give you the board report on the budget and also wish you from Gabby a happy new fiscal year. So we have, the fiscal year 23 has elapsed. It concluded on September 30. And we spent 99.8% of our budget. And I can brag on Gabby since she's not here. That is extraordinary to come that close and not exceed the budget. So thank you, Gabby, wherever you are right now. So there are some adjustments still being made at the end of the close of the fiscal year that might affect the final numbers. But again, we came very, very close to spending all of our budget. And to get any closer would be a little dangerous. So we really did not leave any resources on the table. This includes carry forward requests from the prior fiscal year. So sometimes if there's a timing difference at the end of a fiscal year, we're able to carry forward funds so we don't lose those funds. So we took full advantage of that. In terms of the major gift section, we're at 77% spent on our major gifts from the Friends and the Foundation, and that's on track because those usually run more on a calendar year basis than a fiscal year. And that really concludes the major things that we wanted to point out, but if you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them.
Questions on the budget report? Any questions on the budget report? Okay, well, thank you, Kathy. Well, oh, Beth has a
Sorry.
question. That's okay.
What is, it looks like retiree payout salaries? It's under City General Fund Personnel Services?
So when someone retires, they do get paid out for time, for any
Okay, so that's like
accrued
the
time.
personal leave
It
and all
is
of that?
similar in
Okay.
concept, and for that one, we don't really budget to it. So it's not really too much of a red flag that we went over, because it's very unpredictable how many folks we're going to have retire in a single year. So it's usually within our tolerance level to absorb as things occur. You're welcome.
Wondered if I should be thanking you for my retirement checks.
Questions on the budget report?
I do, and it's just, I don't think we've ever asked about this one, or maybe we have, I don't know. Subscriptions to computer, is that services? What kind of subscriptions does that?
So are you looking at the one under contractual services? Yes. So we do have two different general ledger accounts where our licenses for computer software hit. So sometimes those hit that line, and then different contracts we have, in some cases, it hits the line that's called computer software maintenance.
Kathy, what is language skill pay?
Okay, so that is a city compensation item, and if a staff member speaks a second language and they can pass a fluency test and they can use that second language for their job, they do get a pay premium. They get a little bit of extra compensation for that. That is a very good question. I'm going to defer to Org Health on that one. We'll find out.
Go ahead and pile on. Because of the size of the item, I just wanted to see if I could have an understanding. We're about $260,000 over on an item called general, I guess, liability assess.
Liability assessment, yeah, so that's a scheduled line item, and so because the city is self-insured, the cost of that is allocated out to the general fund departments. So it's an item that gets put into our budget, and then it gets, an expenditure hits our budget. And so in this particular case, it looks like what was taken out of our budget as time went along did exceed that budget line. And I might sound very blasé about it, but it's sort of a general fund thing, and it doesn't really affect our overall budget. Those scheduled line items we're not really allowed to spend as discretionary, so kind of comes out in the wash. I don't know how satisfactory an answer that is, but it's kind of one of those quirks of being a little part of a big general fund. And Gabby's texting me. Let me see if I said anything wrong. Oh, she did share that Office of Management and Budget did do an adjustment to account for that line, Paul. Thank you, Gabby. She's watching the live stream.
She's probably thinking she's not here and she's got the most questions of anyone.
Right.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Gabby, who's listening online. The next item is the report from the Executive Committee, and the committee did meet on October 17th to set the agenda for today's meeting. The next item is the report from the Budget Committee, and the Budget Committee did not meet this reporting period. And then next, we have a report from the Facilities Committee. Andrea?
And the Facilities Committee did meet on October 11th.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, trustees. Yes, as Andrea mentioned, we did meet on October 11th with Facilities Committee meeting. We had a presentation from the World Health Organization, and they'll be providing that later this afternoon. We have a few updates to go over today, and then there is the full construction report in your packet if you have any questions. Let me see if we can get this clicker to work right. Okay. So I'm going to hope that I don't hit anybody. Okay, good. We got a laser as well if we need it. So we've got the Guerra Branch Library, which is currently a closed branch. They're working on HVAC and parking lot improvements. The good news on that one, the HVAC project is just about wrapping up. They're going to be doing a final test and balance either end of this week or early next week. We're starting some parking lot work in the next couple of weeks, and so we'll be finishing that project up during the month of November. We did find out a couple weeks ago that Bexar County did not select Guerra Library as a voting site, so that means we don't have to worry about keeping that location available for access. We did have it available if they wanted it. We did offer it, but they opted to not have to use Guerra Library. The next location we have is the Maverick Branch Library. That was Maverick Branch Library closed on August 1st for a deferred maintenance project. We did reopen on October 9th, so that location was closed for 10 weeks. We did replace the carpet, painted interior walls, ceilings, and partitions. In the bathrooms, we did some renovations, and we also did some light millwork improvements. We have a few photos to show you from that project, some before and afters. So as you can see here, the old, before we had that wallpaper that was throughout the main entrance, and then we had a drinking fountain back in the corner where the restrooms were at. We've now replaced that drinking fountain with the bottle fill station, and we put some ceramic tile behind it to help better protect that. And then when you just painted, we've taken down all the wallpaper and painted the walls in that location as well. In the children's area, what we did over there was we took and got rid of all, oops, oh, sorry about that. We got rid of all of the carpet that was in the children's area, as you can see here, and we replaced it with vinyl flooring, so that's going to give the children librarian a lot more flexibility for the programming that they can do in the children's area. And we repainted the walls, as you can see, a lot brighter walls in the children's area now, so it's a lot more receptive, along with the new carpet throughout the facility. The Great Northwest Branch Library, that also was one of our closed locations for deferred maintenance. They were closed on August 7th, and we reopened that location on October 16th, also after a 10-week closure. Both Maverick and Great Northwest were available for voting this past cycle, and they're both currently used for voting. So this project, we do have a couple photos. This one, because it reopened October 16th, we didn't have a full presentation of before and after photos to show the Facilities Committee. So we're going to give you guys a little sneak peek, but then next month we'll show the Facilities Committee our full presentation. So this one we did, again, we've got a new drinking fountain with some ceramic tile behind the wall there with the bottle fill station. We did some work in the bathrooms. We have a new flooring in the bathroom, new tile walls, new countertop, and we also have some new partitions in there. And then you can see on the photo, on the photo on the right. Where am I going with this thing? This is what happens, Edward, when you give me the clicker. So, okay, let me get through these and. Hey, here we go. Okay. So as you can see in the photo on the right, we've got new paint that we put in the children's area. It's much more bright and colorful. So they're really looking forward to having a great experience at Great Northwest. The Carver Branch Library, as Ramiro had mentioned earlier, we are looking at having the public meeting out there on November 8th for that bond project. Really excited to get that building programming underway and find out what the public is looking forward to in that project. The last couple we have real quick are the main Soledad project. So as you can see as you came in tonight, that project is wrapping up pretty quickly. They've got most of the barricades are down. They did announce at today's project meeting that they will probably be either next Thursday or after next Thursday, they will be turning Soledad into two-way traffic. Right now it's still one-way, but as of next Thursday or possibly Friday or the weekend, depending on weather, because they've got to do a little striping yet and take down the barricades. So that's on that project. Now the other road project around Central Library right now is the Augusta Street Bridge Repair Project. This is a project that Amy, we specifically told them do not start until after October 21st. So they started it on October 23rd, and they expect to be complete within 2 to 3 weeks. That's just a small closure of the Augusta Street Bridge, so it's only Augusta Street between Giroux and Convent, I believe that's closed, so it doesn't really affect too much. We did let staff know about it, and there are a couple staff members that asked me questions about how the detours will work. So, And then the other update I do want to give you guys on, we did find out today over at the Landa Library, because Landa is such a beautiful site, we like to keep tabs on that building as much as possible. Staff went into their garage today, and they discovered that actually yesterday I think it was, and they discovered there were some brick that have caved in on the wall. It's a non-structural element. We met this morning on site with a representative from Public Works and with our JOC contractor and library staff. We're going to work on getting a proposal to have the space cleaned up. We have checked the other parts of the library, because we do have stakeholders in the other 2 sections of the library building. Those 2 sections are secure. There's no damage in those 2 sections, so we're letting the stakeholders know they can use that. But we will do a full assessment of the garage, and whatever damage we have to do, we'll make sure we clear that up. And next month, we'll give a much more detailed report to the Facilities Committee and the board on the damages, and we'll have some photos to show. So, any questions?
Questions for Mark or Andrea?
Thank you for the beautiful job on the matter.
Yeah, I think Paul and Fernanda, you both have new branches to go look and smell and touch. And
Well, let us know if you have any comments. Thank you.
I will
So
just
much.
add, and this is probably also a shout out to the Public Advocacy Committee. That's the right name, right?
Advocacy.
Advocacy. I could not open social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, without seeing the announcement that the libraries were reopening. So it was continuously in my feed, and if it was in my feed and I follow, I'm sure it was for everybody else. So a great job in that communication.
Thank you.
For that, Andrea. Thank you, Mark. Next is a report from the Naming Committee. Okay, thank you, Judy. And then number 10 is a report from the Public Relations and Advocacy Committee. And I believe they did not meet this period, right? Okay, thank you. And then next we have a report from the Ad hoc Board Policy Committee, which also did not meet, and then a report from the Ad hoc ILA Committee. And that committee met on October 17th, and we will provide a report during executive session. We do have an agenda item today to look at the committees, so we'll learn a little bit more about the committee assignments as well. Next, we have a report from the Friends of the San Antonio Public Library, and I did not actually see John. Jessica, do you have an update to provide?
Afternoon. John Costello, the president of the Friends of the San Antonio Public Library, is not in attendance today. He is serving as an election judge for a voting site, so he did send a written report, which I will read for you. The Friends have received a report from Rosemary Fry on the strategic planning session held on September 16th. The report included 6 mission statements drafted by the participants. The Friends Executive Committee will draft 2 proposed statements for the membership to consider at the annual meeting in January. The Friends of the San Antonio Public Library Arts and Letters Award Committee is thrilled to announce the recipients of this year's award. Diana Kersey and Joe Luna will be honored in the Artistic Merit category. Frank Villani will be honored in the Legacy category. The award ceremony will be on Sunday, November 12th at 2 p.m. at the Mission Branch Libraries. All are invited to attend. That concludes the report.
And John is serving an important public service, so we will excuse him for not being here today. And next, we have the Woman of the Hour, Amy, to provide the report for the San Antonio Public Library Foundation.
Think of this trustees meeting as the Katrina Ball meeting.
I do too.
So thank you all. I'm a little short for this. Thank you all for attending and all of your kind words about Katrina Ball. We will not have total numbers for a month or so. You probably saw the e-blast that we sent out yesterday. Some of our higher-end auction items did not sell, so we have an online auction going on. The red sable, Beth, actually, I wanted that too. That one was consignment, so the folks from Elegant Furs just took that right back. So if you want to go get that from them. They still have it at their shop, but that was a great I really think that they thought I was going to bid on it because they brought that especially for me. No $8,000 coats for me. So there are, I just want to give a few shout outs, of course, Jessica and Scott for all of their help, but especially to Rose and her team. They are so wonderful to work with and always have our back no matter what kind of crazy thing we are trying to do. And those of you who were there know we do a lot of crazy things, especially when it comes to decor. And speaking of decor, we have left the main altar up out in the lobby. That is our 21-foot tall masterpiece this year, which we worked very, very hard on. It will be leaving it up through November 4th so that folks can enjoy that. We spend a lot of time on that. I have a little anxiety about that because I'm not originally from San Antonio and I am not Hispanic, and so I feel a lot of anxiety around getting that exactly right. And so for the last 3 years we've gotten A+ from the librarians that go through and look at it, and that means a lot to us. So we will be leaving that up so people can still enjoy that. Our 2024 budget was passed at our executive committee meeting this month, and on November 15th, we have our annual meeting where we approve our 10 new board members and all the dates and everything for 2024. So that's what we have coming up. Bookmark the Town is going to continue to be present through the end of the year, and you'll be seeing a lot more visibility on social media and things about that as we sort of transition out of the Katrina Ball time. Does anyone have any questions? No? I'm glad everybody had a good time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. You continue to raise the bar. I really appreciate that. Next, we'll go to a staff report, a status and update of the World Heritage Center at the Mission Drive-In.
We are thrilled to have our partners here from the World Heritage Office. Colleen Swain is the director of the World Heritage Office. And as I know the board's aware, there's a major project going on near the Mission Branch Library on the Mission Drive-In site to create a world-class World Heritage Center. So Colleen and her team are here tonight with us. And I just want to say before she comes up, they are amazing partners. Keep us always at the table, always informed. And of course, with any construction project, there's times when there's going to be an impact to the site. They have done such a wonderful job partnering with us on mitigating any impact to the library. So I just wanted to publicly thank them for that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Colleen.
Good evening to the Library Board of Trustees, Ramiro, and your staff. Kathy and Dale, it's always a pleasure to work with you too. I'm going to be real quick. Again, I'm Colleen Swain, Director of the World Heritage Office. We are building a World Heritage Center. It will be the first of its kind. It's the only World Heritage Center that I know of in the U.S. Rebecca did go visit others in Germany. And it'll be about a 10,000 square foot facility. And we're really looking at this Mission Drive-In as a campus. And so this is a jewel that we're adding to the campus to go along with all the other jewels. And so it's been a real labor of love. And I'm very fortunate to have such a capable team. Rebecca has really done a great job. And Keith Fay has recently joined the team. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca to present you an update on the World Heritage Center.
I think we have a presentation, right? There we go. Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Rebecca Boyson. I am the Special Projects Manager working on the World Heritage Center on behalf of the World Heritage Office.
I am Keith Fay. I'm an architect with Public Works.
And he is the project manager on behalf of Public Works. And so we're going to tag team on this presentation because we've both been working on it collaboratively. So I just want to thank you, and we want to share with you what the World Heritage Center is. So the center will provide a space for visitor orientation, community engagement, and education with a focus on, of course, the outstanding universal value of the missions as a World Heritage Site. Most importantly, it will offer an indoor-outdoor experience for visitors as well as your community. It will provide educational opportunities and information on the history, art, and culture of the community around the missions. And those are just some renderings that you can see. Keith?
Yeah, you can navigate for me. Let me adjust this a little. I know I'm fairly tall. So for the design firm, we have Dunaway and Alta Architects, and a fun side note on that, Alta is actually the architect that did Mission Library as well. So the contractor is Savana Group, and this was a competitive seal proposal. We started construction in January 2023, and we're still on schedule to be done in the summer of 2024. So right now, what we have going on, we're trying to enclose the building, basically dry it in. We also have some interior framing work, and really the work that's affecting, the total site and campus is we have some utility connections and our driveway access that's going on. We'll show some pictures of that as well.
So this is just to give you an overview of the aerial space that we're looking at. So what you see there is the Mission Branch Library towards the south, and then you have the Mission Marquis Plaza space towards the north. And if you look over to the west of the Mission Plaza, you will see that's the space that we're actually building the center at. And now we'll go ahead and give you a greater image of it there, of the view. What we did recently was complete a sewer line installation, and I believe most of you are familiar with that. Or we want to, this one? In this area here. And I'm going to pass it over to Keith to give you the specifics of it, but I just want to show, this is kind of what our focus has been and what we devised a succinct kind of communication plan that I'll go over in just a second.
So I wish I could take more credit for this, but like Colleen had mentioned, I'm newly added to the team, and I think it was a really great idea. Since we're doing a sewer tie-in along this ring road right here, we're actually able to put our construction fencing on either side of the project to still allow access to the library parking lot and the YMCA parking lot. Currently, the construction fencing was actually taken down because we were able to finish the sewer line early. We're supposed to have everything done towards the end of this week, but we're actually running a little ahead of schedule, so we're able to finish that fairly early.
So as Keith mentioned, it was anticipated to, or scheduled to be completed this weekend, actually on the 28th of October, which would have kind of ran into a couple of special events coming up, plug for the Dia de los Muertos event at Mission Marquis Plaza. But if anything, they were able to beat that schedule, and they have removed the fencing as of this morning. So that was a great thing. And actually in time for early voting as well. So everyone has access to that ring road today. I do want to share with you some of what the World Heritage Office has done in collaboration with our partners. We have had a robust kind of communication plan. We did do in-person presentations at the local neighborhood association meetings. We also had some online and social media engagement with all of our partners, in which we shared social media communication across collaboratively. We've also been holding bi-monthly standing meetings with our key stakeholders and Mission Drive-In campus property partners. And then, of course, we put out some printed material and notifications, which include a flyer that was distributed at every movie and market at Mission Marquis, and then we also distribute them at the Mission Branch Library to all of its visitors and patrons. We also made sure that that flyer was available for the YMCA members and at their events, and distributed at their events. We included an ad in the Southside Reporter notifying the public, and we also did a mail out that consisted of just over 1,500 businesses and residents within a 1-mile radius of the Mission Drive-In campus, just to notify them that we were going to have the utility work that was going to be taking place, and to let them know that all of our partners were still in operation and that they could access it. Digital notifications included monthly newsletters. The World Heritage Organization initiated that in August, and then we tagged our local partners. And then, and we will continue with that actually throughout the duration of the project. So each month there will be an update in that newsletter. Signage, we included digital message boards at Roosevelt and northbound and southbound, just to inform visitors and patrons how to access the library or the YMCA, for example, or the plaza. We had a message board at the Roosevelt entrance, as mentioned. And then we also had one off of Roosevelt heading towards the VFW entrance. In addition, we also had A-frames at the Roosevelt entrance and the VFW entrance. And then along the library sidewalks and the playground area, we made sure to have signage installed so that people knew how to kind of get around the fencing and make their way. And this just gives you some visuals. That's the back of the message board heading towards the library. There's the fencing that was installed that is no longer there, and then there's some of the A-frames and the signage directing visitors. I'm trying to get this to go. Next slide. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay. I know, as soon as someone comes over, everything starts working. So this was what we were looking at. This is the utility tie-in along that ring road. Currently, the contractor has actually filled in everything and replaced the asphalt. They were running ahead of schedule, so we're actually able to take down the construction fence early, and they removed all that construction debris that you see right there. They're still doing a tiny bit of sweeping up around the area, but because of all the lovely rain that we've had recently, it's making that a little more difficult. But
There you go. Okay. Go ahead.
all right. So this was our new access to the World Heritage Center. So this is a drive that's going to be running behind the viewing area. So either way, you'll be able to access the World Heritage Center from the VFW entrance or the Roosevelt entrance. And this will also allow us to have parking that doesn't impact the Ring Road parking as well.
Yes, and so just to clear up, what you're seeing there is in addition to the current ring road that's there. So this is added street within the ring road, and this will loop around the back to the World Heritage Center. There we go. Okay. So something we do want to highlight and to bring to your attention is there is some future utility work that will be taking place at the Roosevelt entrance, which will have minimal impact to the parking area at the library. And so we just want to go ahead and explain to you what that is briefly.
So we have to do an IT connection across the drive right off Roosevelt. And
It's going to run across from here to here, just across right here.
And so this process typically takes 1 to 2 weeks to do. We're looking at having it done towards the end of December, towards the beginning of January, to minimize the impact to our neighbors on this site. Now, if that becomes an issue with access to the Mission Library off Roosevelt, there's construction methods we can utilize to allow vehicles to drive over that trench that we'd have to dig right through the Roosevelt entry.
We do want to mention that at all times, visitors will have access to this parking lot through VFW, actually. So if in case they do have to close this area off for about a week's time, maybe, anyone can come through VFW and have direct access to the library parking lot. So in no way will we close the parking lot itself or the full access to it. So it's just a matter of kind of working out the logistics depending on what the trenching will intake and how quick it can get done. Sorry, and that was a really nice image we were going to show you, some imagery there. Let's see. Yeah, okay, there we go. So before we get to any questions, we did want to share with you that we will also be including a drum circle, and this is something that the community has asked for. And it's just, a great contribution and kind of added aesthetic and value to the community here. Here you can see the Mission Marquee Plaza, the screen. The World Heritage Center is about this way. And so people will be able to walk and, enjoy this space with a drum circle. And this will be open to the community for use, so it's not something that will be closed off. For example, it is, for the community's use and purpose. Oops. So that concludes our presentation. If anybody has any questions.
Well, it looks beautiful. Thank you for the update. See if trustees have questions. Marcy?
How will the function of this differ from the visitor center at San Jose that has, they have a visitor center there, because I've been to programs there with a stage and all that. And what are you planning on doing in this center? Hi, Colleen.
So the visitor center at San Jose is for the actual national park, the San Antonio Missions National Historical Park. So what we will do is we'll provide some visitor orientation. We'll tell the stories of the people who lived in the area and continue to live in the area. So we'll share that information. We were asked to focus on the arts and culture and heritage of the area. So we're not replacing what exists next door. What we're doing is hopefully will be another site that people can stop and learn something about the community. We also have the Camino Center at Mission Concepcion. So we won't be focused on just the mission history. We're going to be focused on the neighborhood and the community.
Looking at the domes on top of the structure, will those be bovedas that will be sort of complementary to the ones on Mission Branch?
Yes, they will. Actually, on the interior of the project as well, we will have a vaulted masonry arch that you'll be able to see on the inside, that those domes will then reflect on the exterior of the project. So the architectural language really does tie into the surrounding buildings.
I mentioned during the Facilities Committee meeting how impressed I have been with the thoughtfulness of developing this campus, and I think that this is going to be a really fantastic addition to it.
I appreciate your communication with the neighborhoods and the patrons of the library. That's very key. I appreciate you letting everybody know about the closures and stuff. My question is, I visit the Mission with my kids, and my favorite part about the Mission Library is that you could walk outside and there's a garden, and then we kind of like walk around, and then, the architecture around there. There's not a lot of shade, and so remind me, is there going to be shade structures anywhere around for outside?
For this facility, you can see that there's a veranda all around the building that kind of mitigates the heat, or the sun from coming in. It does provide open space to, air can flow through and you can get some sunlight, but at the same time it will provide some shading. And then I guess Colleen will mention about.
Well, there is a pavilion planned adjacent to the drum circle.
Okay, that's what I want to say. I feel like I saw.
So this is a 2017 and 2022 bond project. A portion of the funding from 2022 will be for the design of the pavilion that'll happen. And we're not sure, I mean, of course, I want it to be the best pavilion in the entire world. But we're not sure yet, like, how elaborate that pavilion would be. But we're hoping that it can provide also some extra outdoor space, maybe even for meetings at some point.
Great.
So, and then for Mission Marquee Plaza, we don't have it planned right now, but we know because it's been a very hot summer and it's getting hotter and hotter. We are thinking about looking into maybe shade structures for the vendors. We have to be cautious because this is a historic site. There are certain sight lines that we have to be cognizant of. And so how those are planned, we'll have to be very thoughtful. But we do recognize that there is a lot of heat in that large open area.
Right. I mean, and it would just be really lovely for library patrons, to go there and hang out or, take their kids. So,
Well,
right.
they're welcome to hang out
But
on
it's
the
nice.
veranda.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that. Size of the space.
It's a little bit over 10,000 square feet, and the interior is 5,000 with a 4,000 square foot veranda. And the community asked for flexible indoor-outdoor space. So we'll have doors to exit the veranda.
Did I hear that there was an additional road? I tried to follow. I apologize if you mentioned this clearly. An additional road behind the ring road, or?
So actually, right here, if you see, right, that's the road. So the library is this way, and then Roosevelt would be this way. So coming in Roosevelt, this is where the road would come, and it'll wrap around and attach to the current ring road around the back. So there is an additional road. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can, let's see, is there another? Oh, there it is. Maybe I'll go back, sorry. This one.
Hesitated to ask the question because I knew you'd have to back up, and I'm like, oh, I didn't want to.
So in this case, would you see the ring road wrap around here? That's the picture we showed you with the parade laid flat.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that update. Okay, next we have an update on the San Antonio Public Library Strategic Plan. Jessica?
Afternoon. I have an update regarding our strategic plan, which is under development currently. And I did provide an update back in August, and this is an update to that information that we provided. So to start with our background, as you know, the strategic plan is envisioned to be a footprint for the library system to guide us in our service delivery efforts in the future. Our current strategic plan that we are currently operating off of was adopted in 2015 by the library board. In order for the library to develop our new strategic plan, we have undergone a multi-step process over several years due to the COVID pandemic, of course, which started with our community needs assessment, which is our collection of data. We felt that it was very important to start with data to inform our decision-making, and from then we continued to work the process, which I'll explain further on. We also did include a staff engagement process. This was critical to the development of prior strategic plans, and so we wanted to keep that element as part of the current development of the strategic plan. Our staff at all of our 30 locations worked day in, day out with our community. They know the needs, they know the services that we provide, and we know that it's critically important to include staff engagement as part of this process. So our next slide will talk about our project timeline. And this is essentially for, once the community needs assessment was completed, to establish our new strategic plan. So in January this year, we worked with 11 staff work groups who met every other week for several months to develop their work plan for their specific areas. After that, we engage all staff with an opportunity for staff feedback on the work that our staff work groups put together regarding the strategic plan. Once our staff feedback came in, I worked with our management team as well as our administrative team to further refine those recommendations and get feedback from them. Once that concludes, we will begin writing. Writing the strategic plan document is a heavy lift, and so we are taking all of the information that we've gathered so far, and we're going to start writing in the next couple weeks. We are working with Orange Boy, our consultant team, who you've met previously. They did our community needs assessment, and we also work with them on customer analytics, so they know library, they know San Antonio Public Library, so we're excited to continue this partnership with them. In December, we expect to have a draft of the strategic plan for the library board. And then we will come back in January for a final evaluation of the draft and adoption from the library board. So this is a timeline that we're working with, and we're pretty much in the middle of it right now. We're towards the end. And just a refresher, our staff work groups comprised of 11 work groups. And these work groups were comprised of staff from the organization. Everybody was called to volunteer to join a work group. And each of them were able to pick a work group that appealed to them most. And they gave us 2 choices, and we were able to fit it so that we at least got them in one of the 2 that they selected. The work groups essentially is a personification of the data. So we had all of this data come in from the community needs assessment. And so what our consulting team did is they took that data and they molded that into originally 10 personas that represented the data. Our work groups told us we needed 11, so we added 1. And this is what we did throughout the entire process. We listened to staff. If folks said we need a change, we need to make a tweak, we did it because we felt that it was important to take that feedback and actually do that. So as an example of what a persona looks like is the next slide. Our consultant team gave a sample persona based on the data to the work groups. The very first task of that work group was to refine that persona. And this is an example of the persona. I'm not going to read it for you because it's an example. It is a live example, but it is an example. And it essentially shows that the staff knows their audience. They refined this persona to represent a customer or customers that they know at their location. And so this is an example of, there were 11 of these created. And basically what our strategic plan was based off of. And our next slide talks about feedback. And so our feedback contains 4 elements that our work groups put together. Our first is a customer story, and I do have animation built in. So we have a customer story, which was what we just talked about, the persona. You know, who is it that our customer in this particular situation? Then our work groups develop what we call a life cycle. Throughout the life cycle of this persona, how do they engage with the library? How could they engage with the library? What would that look like? And so they went through that exercise. It took maybe 2 months to, meeting to develop this life cycle. And then after that, the group worked on tactics. How can we connect the library to this persona, this type of individual, through their life cycles with the library? So they developed tactics that were very deliberate in meeting the need of the customer, the patron, and making that connection with the library, which does not exist right now. And finally, they put all of their work together and developed videos. with their PowerPoints, and everybody did 5-minute videos for their work group, and they shared that with all staff because we wanted to make it easy for staff to watch the videos and understand where they're coming from. Instead of giving them a stack of papers to read, we wanted to come to life for them. So everybody did 5-minute videos, and they stuck to their 5 minutes, 55 minutes total. So the staff at our locations had a big challenge, watching 55 minutes of videos. So we gave them about 3 weeks to do this, to watch all these videos. And then we had a quick survey to get their feedback and tell us which ones most resonated with them, which ones didn't. And we took that feedback and met with our management team. So we're continuing to engage staff in this process. In our next slide, we'll talk about our work to develop our strategic initiatives. So I worked with the senior management team originally, and we developed a priority order for the various work groups, taking the feedback from staff, but also the leadership from the management team. We then worked with the administrative team, which is Ramito, Kathy, Dale, and myself. At that time, we have since added Adam Zabi to that group, but at the time, it was the 4 of us. And we looked at all of the work put together and saw some common themes that rose to the top. And listening to feedback from staff through the survey, members of management team during that discussion, and then also with Ramito, Kathy, Dale, we decided to take a different approach with how we looked at the data. Instead of looking at it from the areas of focus or the personas, we started looking at it from common themes that went through all of them. And our next slide will show you an illustration of that. So this shows you, and this is just an example illustration to show you what we did. So areas of focus, we were looking at a few areas of focus to focus on. And there'll be some red circles that pop up. And so, for example, if we were looking at all digital all the time as an area of focus, we would only prioritize certain initiatives in that focus. But what we decided to do after a lot of discussion, a lot of feedback, a lot of incorporating just different view of it, we flipped it on its side, and our next slide will show you how we are approaching it, which is through initiatives. And these travel the opposite way, which is going across all of the areas of focus and looking at the themes or the major initiatives that have come up. So same data, same information, just looking at it differently. And so this is what we're in the process of doing right now. So really excited about how we've listened and shifted how, our plan for our strategic plan. Again, it's the same data, it's the same information, it's just looking at it in a different way. So in addition to looking at those areas of focus and the initiatives, we're also understanding that we do have existing plans. We have facility plan, we have an IT roadmap, we have collection development, and we've had prior staffing studies. We're looking at a future staffing study. So we know that these plans exist. So we want to make sure that as we continue with our strategic plan development, we nod to these plans and we make sure that we incorporate where appropriate into these plans. So this is another area that we're also making sure that we include in our strategic plan, because these current plans are in play and they do address several areas that the library is working in. And finally, our next steps are to continue with staff communication. I do need to circle back with our staff, our work groups and our staff to let them know how we've turned it on its side. This is a pretty recent development, so I'm working on that communication to let them know how we've adjusted. And actually some of the survey responses we received actually said to do this very thing. So, that's a good thing. We are working to finalize the written document so that you'll have a good working draft at the December board meeting, and then come back again for January adoption. And that is our strategic plan.
Jessica, I want to see if trustees have any questions about the strategic plan. There was a lot there to digest.
I'll say that I'm just really impressed. It's very thorough. I really appreciate the thoughtfulness of getting those different perspectives. One thing piqued my interest, interesting question. What is the 11th persona that they wanted to add?
Tween. So we had a children focus, a teen focus, and our teen group wanted to splinter off into a tween focus, so we ended up with 11 for tween.
11th persona for the 11-year-olds, I guess. I have two questions for you, Jessica. The initiatives that you displayed on the chart, were those listed in priority order?
Not with how we finalized. Those are just originally as we identify common themes. So since then, the management team has met to look at priority order and which initiatives are being recommended, and I don't have that for you because we are still tweaking the language on that.
Great, thank you. I remember when the persona work started and then paused, so it's really exciting to see it, and it looks like you guys have dug even deeper into understanding the personas than that first pass. It's very exciting. Echo Paul's statements. This is great work. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, which is for Kathy to brief us on a staff report for security and safety at Central Library.
So I'm here tonight to talk to you about a difficult but extremely important topic, which is safety and security for the library system. Needless to say, we're an open public facility that serves everyone, and so because of that, we have to bring a lot of diligence to our security and safety program. So what I'm specifically here to deliver to you is an informational item about a pilot that the library administration is pursuing to bring some additional security resources here to the Central Library. I wanted to give you a little bit of context just to kind of paint the big picture, and I'll try to keep it brief, but I think it's important to give some context about what we currently do. A lot of thought and effort has gone into how we handle safety and security across the system. The staff is the absolute critical part of that. And so we make sure that everyone knows what their role is, what the procedures are, and what resources are available to them. This program is managed out of our facilities operation group, so that's the group that Rose Navarro leads that Amy gave a hat tip to earlier. And they take this responsibility very seriously. We also have a staff safety and security committee that gives us real-time input so that we can always be improving. So the cornerstone of our program is really the board-approved patron code of conduct. So this is what guides us in all areas. You know that the underlying philosophy of that is that we are open. We want to be accessible, we want to be welcoming, and we want to be safe. So people come to our spaces, they access the services, they meet together, and as long as everyone adheres to our patron code of conduct, they are welcome, and we have absolutely no issues. However, clearly there are times when users don't adhere to that patron code of conduct. So what do? We consider those violations of the code of conduct, and we handle them as incidents. These can range from fairly innocuous up to very serious. So we might have an incident of sleeping in the library, might have some graffiti, that type of thing, but the incidents can be as serious as assault. So the response, of course, is proportionate to what the situation is that's happening. Again, the vast majority of our visits do not involve any of this type of behavior. But for those that do, we want to make sure that we have appropriate responses in place and communication. So the first thing is staff is very vigilant about this, and they do a wonderful job in terms of incident response and communication. The communication of incidents as they occur, serious incidents, we handle through a process that we call the emergency communication protocol. And what that means is when an incident that's serious in nature, that's a danger to staff, to customers, that immediately gets communicated by the librarian in charge typically up to their public service administrator, and then it goes up to Dale and me, and sometimes up to Ramiro, depending on what the situation is. At the same time, we have Scott involved, to make him aware, Jessica. We deploy org health resources if needed. We do site visits sometimes as the administrative team if it's a particularly egregious incident. And we have a process that's called be on the lookout for. So if a customer conducts themselves in a way that's very serious, they might be suspended for up to 3 years, issued a criminal trespass, and then we would issue an alert out through a network of city-issued cell phones to the locations to say, hey, be on the lookout for this person. They're dangerous, don't approach them, call the police. So we want to make sure that staff's equipped with the knowledge that we're going to support them if they need to call 911. Or if they need us to deploy security resources. So a lot of it is about that procedure of response and communication. Additionally, of course, you're aware that the library system has contract security guards, and we also have a small complement of in-house security personnel. For Central, all of our public-facing hours, and really all the hours that staff is in the building, are staffed by contract security mainly, but also that small complement of in-house security guards. In addition, Central kind of serves as the hub for the whole library system. So we do have in-house security staff that are here at Central overnight, and they deploy out to locations if incidents happen during the overnight hours. A long time ago in the bad old days, we used to have our librarians responding, using a buddy system and wait until the police come. That obviously was totally inappropriate. So as soon as we could, we started getting overnight in-house security. So they can monitor the cameras at the locations, they can respond to alarms, and then of course communicate further. The branches have contract security hours for a portion of their public hours. So we do not have contract security at every location for all hours, and those resources are deployed as needed, when we see patterns or if there's particular times of activity when we feel like that presence on site will help. We do our very best to make sure that any of our resources, whether it's our staff, contract, that they understand our patron code of conduct, right? Because this isn't about people not gathering, accessing our services. It's only in those incidents where they don't follow the patron code of conduct that some action needs to be taken. In addition, when we have incidents, we document them because that's very important for follow-up. And we have a secure database system that we use for that confidential record. This also allows us to follow up with the police when a police report has been filed and to look at patterns. So that's sort of the broad brushstrokes of what we do. And so in using that incident report information, we look at it very carefully over time, kind of year to year, over this month to last month in the same year. And we look at if we see any patterns developing where we feel like we need to deploy additional resources. So in the case of the Central Library, as you can imagine, we have a large number of visits. So in fiscal 23, we had almost 300,000 visits to the Central Library. So as we've reopened, we've seen the visits increasing. People are very excited about the improvements in the facility. And over 98% of those, there's no incident, right? But that said, there were 500 incidents in fiscal '23 at Central. So I know sometimes people find that to be a surprise, but again, it runs that range, right? So some of them are minor, but some of them are serious. So what we've seen is that there is a trend up in assaults at the Central Library. And so to be very specific, because we want to be very specific with you and give you the facts, in 2023, there were 18 assaults. So where someone came in and put their hands, hit, or otherwise, assaulted, either another patron or a staff member. So of those 18, 9 were customers doing that to our security staff. So about half of them were that. 4 involved other library staff, so non-security staff. And then 5 were assaults of one customer to another. So we had a total of 18. That is an increase over previous years. And recently, we've had a number where it is users on site assaulting non-security library staff. Now, this isn't to say that we want anyone to do this to anyone. It's just that we're seeing a more recent pattern where it's involving non-security staff. So what we're proposing, and I guess I should add, obviously when an incident of that nature happens, of course we call 911, of course we do the immediate response, but we do very intentionally make sure that we're following up with the team member, offering them resources like our employee assistance program, which is called COSA Cares now, like I said, a visit by the admin team, and just checking in, making sure, obviously they are not on desk, for the rest of their shift. If they need to leave, they can leave. And so we try to be very intentional because this is a traumatic thing. So in seeing this pattern at Central, we did want to pursue having a pilot program. So again, this is a pilot to have SAPD officers on site. This would be for a portion of time and a number of days across our schedule where we've seen particular upticks in problematic activity across the week. And what that would look like is, to start, SAPD is suggesting that we have 2 officers kind of in tandem on site, kind of roaming the building a little, being a presence, and then probably after a couple of weeks, that would be 1 officer. And again, it would be a portion of the week and some of the days where we see some particular peaks in activity. We've thought about this very carefully because, of course, we want to be careful about the perception. And sometimes people can feel, oh, I'm in an unsafe place because I see a police officer. But on the whole, we felt like this could be a deterrent, a new deterrent to this type of activity. Also, of course, a police officer can take immediate action and even do an arrest if needed. And that's not something that our contract security or in-house security, of course, can do. So we've kind of thought very carefully about this, and we are pursuing it as a pilot, but because this is a fairly significant change, we wanted to bring it to the board for information. And I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Start by thanking you for the thoroughness of the report, Kathy. Kind of painting the picture of how this recommendation came about. And I think I echo your concerns that we want to make sure that the visibility of any staff or patrol is sending the right message to all patrons. But I do appreciate the care and concern that you're expressing both for our patrons and for our staff, of course, both the security guards and the contract security guards as well as the staff. One question that I have is what you described for the early phase of the pilot, which was like 2 officers that are basically on premise, are they going to replace the security guards, or will that be in addition to?
It will be in addition, at least at the beginning, although if we see any immediate improvements, it might allow us to not have as many contract security guards at that particular time. But I anticipate in the beginning it'll be in addition. And your comment, just reminded me to say one more thing, which is Rose Navarro, again, our facilities manager, she spent quite a bit of time with our SAFE officers for Central, doing a walkthrough, talking about this before we brought forward a recommendation to Ramiro. And so the SAFE officers are very aware, and they really honor the patron code of conduct. So they're always asking us, like, okay, do you allow this? Is this okay? Is this outside your tolerance for certain behaviors or activities? So they really understand where the library is coming from, which is we want you to access the library. We want you to be here, and we want to create a safe and welcoming space for everyone.
Questions for Kathy or comments? Marcy, Beth?
How are the in-house security selected, and what kind of training do they get?
Yes, so the in-house security, we have a security supervisor and security guards too. So their job duties are covered under city job descriptions. And so they go through the same hiring process as other city employees. And then through our facilities group, they identify what training might be needed. And then, of course, often the guards that are hired, or for example, our security supervisor, they have prior experience in the security industry.
Kathy, it seems to me that so many of the mass shootings take place in public areas, like whether it's movie theaters or schools. And is there any concern about guns coming in any way to make sure that doesn't happen? Because I think it's a matter of not if, I think it's when, the way we're going, and this is a very public space, and I don't know if, people, I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
So the short answer is yes. We're very concerned about it. The more complicated answer is that we're not able to restrict people bringing in handguns. So that's the legal environment in Texas of not being able to ask people, and licensed handguns are not restricted in public libraries. There's some very limited exceptions, like the board meeting is one. But otherwise, we actually cannot even inquire about that. So it is difficult, and it is a concern of staff. It very much is. Because as you say, we're a very open facility, and we want everyone to come in, and so that is a big concern for the team.
What about the signage that says it's illegal to bring handguns in?
So the signage says, except for, right, licensed handguns. Yeah. So, and it gets very difficult because even among and I'm not the expert about this, I would really defer to our city attorney's office to really describe it thoroughly, but there are restrictions about some kinds of weapons and not others, but particularly handguns. If you are licensed to carry it, you can carry it in a holster, and we're actually not allowed to ask you about it.
So it is concerning about staff being assaulted. So I want to know, or just remind us of the protocol if a patron sees something going wrong or some bad behavior, they go tell a staff member, and what does staff member do? Do they go try to diffuse the situation, or do they go to security guard to try?
So a little bit of a combination. So the staff team, the The idea is that they immediately get to like a safe position. We have persons in charge for every unit at Central, for every location in the library. And the idea is that that would be the person who helps, with the incident response to try to de-escalate things. But the safety is the primary concern. So if a staff member is interacting with a customer, they become, combative or threaten, then the staff know that they just need to kind of put themselves in the safest position they can and get help from their person in charge, their supervisor. Obviously, in locations where there is security on site, they're engaged. Now, they're not able, our contract security and our in-house security, they're not able to detain someone, but they intervene and kind of talk the situation down as best they can. And then, of course, the primary thing is we call 911 in those situations.
I'd like to go back to the question about guns in our libraries. As Kathy reported, only schools are an exception to that rule. But I understand, and Christina, I'm going to put you on the spot. Initially, it was a matter of people needed a license to carry a handgun, but then the open carry, I believe, law passed a couple years ago, which you don't even need a license at this point to carry a gun. Am I correct, Christina?
Not as familiar with the updated law, but I can certainly get you a definitive answer and let you know.
Because that's my understanding now, but we're going to confirm that. My understanding, anyone can go buy a gun, they don't have to be licensed, and they can carry it. It doesn't have to, it can be concealed and can be openly carried, but we'll get that clarification.
Over time, the law obviously changes, and then we need help from our city attorney's office to kind of interpret it. I mean, how do we deal with this on a day-to-day basis? That is one of the topical areas that we have as a goal to retrain staff on in 2024, in fiscal 2024 I'm talking about. So we've done active shooter training recently, stop the bleed training, places of refuge, where we've gone and looked at the places of refuge across the system and made some improvements. And then the last part of our curriculum that we're hopeful to get done fairly soon is in partnership with City Attorney's Office to answer these types of very specific questions. But it's very limited in terms of how we can intervene in that situation. As Ramiro describes, it's pretty much you can carry it, you can carry that weapon, you can bring it into the library.
On a slightly different note, I know that public libraries in other cities have seen staff be trained in the use of Narcan to help patrons or members of the public who might have overdosed. Is SAPL doing that or considering it, or where are we with that?
Have considered it. And so a couple of factors that came into why we didn't go forward with that, because there definitely are communities, as you're describing, Beth, and public library systems that do, is that the response time, first of all, we don't have the level of that issue at the libraries I'm only talking about, not necessarily the San Antonio community, as perhaps some other systems, where they're routinely having people in bathrooms and, things like that. So in that regard, I guess I would use the word fortunate or not. And then in the situations where we've needed to call emergency services, their response time has been good. So we have not taken that step. That was sort of the thinking. But periodically this does come up and we reassess. And that's one of the reasons I think our staff safety and security committee is so important, because it's from all different levels in the organization and they really bring the issues forward of what they're concerned about, things like Narcan, other measures, and we always are willing to revisit and look, based on that input.
I know you mentioned the COSA services. Does that include counseling support for situations like this?
I'm not the expert on it. I don't know if Jessica might, but I won't put her on the spot. So COSA Cares, yes, it does. And I think the big improvement that happened in the new fiscal year is that the Human Resources Department, with the support of the city manager, kind of revamped the program. So as I understand it, you used to be able to call, this number that could be provided to you to get assistance, but they might refer you to, a provider. Now you can get direct services through that call. So that's a big improvement. And then it's greater coverage too, as I understand it. So the answer to your question is yes. So in those instances, we have our organizational health unit get involved, human resources if needed, and we put the employee in contact with the resources and make sure they're really accessing what they need.
So just say an employee does have a session maybe during a workday, is that covered? Does that taken into consideration?
It does. There's they kind of rebranded the leave. So for quite a number of years now, we've had family wellness leave that you could use for those types of appointments and other things too. Now, it's called COSA Cares Leave, and to me, the big improvement this time is that even, let's say you don't have an appointment, but something happens at work, hopefully it's not as horrible as an assault, but you just kind of are like, you know what, I'm under a lot of stress, I need to call in, you can. And so that was a big improvement, I feel like, for our team, because as long as you follow the call-in procedure, so like you have to call in the morning and, tell your supervisor, but you can literally call in and say, look, I need to take the day off because of maybe a situation that occurred, earlier in the week. So it's very flexible in that regard. Yeah. And we do all these things. It is by no means perfect. And so we're constantly trying to improve. But, I did want to share some of the ways we handle it, but we can always improve.
And that was going to be my question. I appreciate you asking that question, because it makes me, like everybody else, almost angry, thinking about what the staff, just 4 staff members. The 18 assaults, was that just at Central?
That was just
Right.
at Central.
And you said there was an increase. Do you know what the incidents were for the previous years? Approximately? I mean, just a couple of years?
One consideration is that we were closed for some of the previous years.
But just like...
Central, so in 2021, it was 2. And then in 2022, it was 10. And now in 23, it was 18.
And I know we've spent a lot of time on this, but real quick, could you summarize again the length of the pilot?
I didn't mention that. So I'm thinking we'll do, and Ramiro and I haven't had a final discussion about this, but it seems reasonable to me to try the pilot for 3 to 6 months, to really give it some time, and then to do an evaluation at that point, see if we're seeing improvements.
I'm thinking 6 months.
Have the police provided, I almost wish I didn't ask this out loud, maybe it's a dumb question. They provided feedback for suggestions on?
They did. I mean, our team member Rose did a really great job of kind of looking at all the incidents and really thinking about it, because needless to say, we cannot staff with SAPD all of our hours. That would be cost prohibitive. But she shared with our SAFE officers kind of what our thinking was, as I described, and they were supportive of that approach. They said, yeah, we think it can really make a difference to see a police presence on site, even if it's a portion in some days of the week, during kind of those times where things tend to be a little bit more active in a bad way.
I really appreciate the sensitivity with which you've communicated all this. I appreciate the thoroughness of the information, and I'm thankful that y'all are taking some steps ahead of time to investigate this. And I know, once again, I know it's sensitive, scary in many ways, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Kathy, one last question for me. Is there a cost associated with this? Like, is this treated like security services from off-duty police officers, or is this part of the city?
There is a cost, and in total, that's the one thing I didn't bring was the budget for this. That's not like me. But there is a cost to it, and we calculated that the annual cost, so we're not assuming this will go on for a whole year, because we talked about this as a pilot, and we'll reevaluate in 6 months, but it would be, thank you, Rose. It would be approximately $70,000 a year.
So much for the information, and thank you everyone for your questions. And I look forward to hearing more about the pilot. So I'll request Ramiro and Kathy an update even before the pilot's complete, just to let us know how things are going and progressing with that. The next item is to review and consider library board committee appointments and liaison assignments for fiscal year 2024. So in your packet, you'll have a pink sheet that has the current assignments. It shows some vacancies that have appeared, and just in the interest of time, I'm going to share with you the committee assignments that, Edward, do you have copies of this sheet? Okay.
The proposed.
The proposal? Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
it's proposed.
Thank you. While Edward's handing that out, I'm going to share with you, I'm going to highlight just the committee assignments that are changing, just in the interest of time. So the executive committee is already set, as you all know, based on the outcome from the last meeting. The naming committee, we have Josie Martinez as the chair from District 3, and a new committee member, Fernanda Cardenas from District 6. For the Budget Committee, we have Joanne Harris, who will be our chair from District 2, and we also have Beth Graham from District 10. Our formerly known as the PR and Advocacy Committee, we are now adopting the name of just the Advocacy Committee, and that will be led by Judy Cruz as the chair. And finally, the Facilities Committee will still be chaired by Andrea Sanchez Muniz, but we have a new member, Josie Martinez, from District 3. And then for our ad hoc committees, these are committees that meet as needed, but not on a regular scheduled cadence. For the Ad hoc Library Policies Committee, we have a new chair, Paul Stahl. And for the Ad hoc Bond Committee, we have a new chair, that's also Paul. Thank you, Paul, for that. And then finally, for the Ad hoc for the Ad hoc Interlocal Agreement Committee, we have a new member, Andrea Sanchez Muniz from District 4. For our liaisons, the only change that we have made is that Joanne Harris will no longer be a liaison for the Public Library Foundation, but Fernanda Cardenas continues as a liaison there. So I will ask for a motion. I think Edward's going to help us with this, to accept the committee and liaison assignments.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the proposed assignments.
Okay, thank you, Paul. We have a first from Paul and a second from Judy. Any discussion, any questions about the assignments or concerns? I spoke to each of you before putting this together, so hopefully there's no surprises. Any discussion on this one? Okay. Nicholas, can you take us through a roll call vote?
Carla Gurgiolo. Aye. Joanne Harris. Josie Martinez. Andrea Sanchez Muniz.
Aye.
Norma Montalvo.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas is absent. Paul Stahl. Marcy Ince.
I have a question. I thought you had asked me to be the chair of the ad hoc bond committee. Did you change your mind on that, or did I get that wrong?
No, I probably made a mistake, and we should fix that. Thank you, Marcy. I hadn't noticed that.
I mean, I'm happy to do whatever you want, so.
Oh, well, I'm sure Paul is not as agreeable as you are with that. Thank you for that.
I just wanted to clarify it.
Okay, so do we need to? Okay, thank you, Paul.
Beth Graham. Aye. Judy Cruz. Aye. Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
Motion passed. Oh.
Thank you. And I just wanted a clarification. I'm going to look to Jessica because I always do that when I need help. Can we start the roll call vote again? Okay,
Start it
thank you.
again. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Thank you. Sorry, Nicholas.
No. Yeah, I want to make sure I get the protocol.
So we had an amended motion from Paul, and then I think Judy indicated that she would second that motion. Is that right, Judy? Yes, okay.
Can I get a clarification on what the amendment actually is? I'll vote for
The amendment was for, in the ad hoc bond committee, which is one of our ad hoc committees, the chair should actually be Marcy,
Okay,
not Paul.
that's what I thought.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
thank you.
And I am still on that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Nicholas. You can
Of course.
lead us through a vote.
Carla Gurgiel. Aye. Joanne Harris.
Aye.
Josie Martinez is absent. Andrea Sanchez Muniz.
Aye.
Norma Montalvo.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas is absent. Paul Stahl. Aye. Marcy Ince.
Aye.
Beth Graham.
Aye.
Judy Cruz. Aye. Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And Carla, I just want to make sure that you are aware we have some spots available for you as well, so I'll connect with you so that you have an opportunity to participate on some committees as well. Next, we are going to enter executive session. So I'm going to read this statement. The Board of Trustees of the San Antonio Public Library will begin its executive session pursuant to the Government Code, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, on the 25th day of October, 2023, at 6:52 p.m. The San Antonio Public Library has completed its executive session on the 25th day of October 2023 at 8:16 p.m. The Board of Trustees of the San Antonio Public Library will now resume its open session. No action was taken. All right, well, I thank everyone for their participation, and I will entertain a motion for adjournment. Thank you,
I'll
Marcy.
second.
Gosh, a lot of seconds. Thank you. I don't think we need a vote. Thank you all. Have a safe evening.